is going on, everyone? Thank y'all so much for being here. This is Ending the Stigma. My name is Chris Hennessy, and I love having these conversations. These conversations with cool people who are in some way have been justice impacted or work for work for organizations that help justice impacted people or been in any kind of addiction, just to have conversations with them. Show us, and by us, I mean felons and former addicts as real people that we do recover, and that, we're not all just a bunch of idiots. So, anyway, that's the point of the show. And I am tired tonight. I've had a crazy week and weekend. So if I start stuttering, it's a good thing my guest tonight has so much passion and so much energy, because she's going to carry the whole show. I know it. Let's say hi to some folks real quick. Stephen Ing is in the house. What's going on? Lisa Withers is in the house. Her and her family, husband and 2 kids, I believe, are going to be on the show in 2 weeks. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've never had a whole family before. Tanya Bugby is watching from Jackie's side. Lisa Marie, how are you doing, ma'am? Randy House is in the house. Marissa Colley is in the house. Hezekiah is here. Andrew Bennett, that's what I'm talking about. Chris Smith, we were just talking about you backstage, brother. Shannon Epps. Yeah. If you saw my weekend on Insta, you might think we were a bunch of idiots. I'm on Insta now. If y'all want to follow me, there will be a lot more personal content there, a lot more of me being me and just having fun. At Hip is Live is my handle. It is a private account, so you'll have to request to follow me, and I will accept it, I promise. All right, so Teresa Etherly, what's going on? Who's this LinkedIn user here? Hang on, let's see who that is. If it'll come through. Damian Kinsey, what's going on, man? All right, my guest tonight, so much passion, so much energy, so much all the things. Like, we had a Zoom call a couple weeks ago, and it was just like, I was pumped afterwards. So yeah, anyway, without any further ado, I'm going to bring out Jackie Hallberg. Hey, Jackie.
Hey, Chris.
How are you doing?
I'm great.
Good. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And it's 8:00 my time. So even if you're dragging, I'm still not dragging. So I got you.
I appreciate that. Oh, man. Sleeping in a tent in July on an air mattress is not always the best for getting sleep, but it is what it is. So anyway, so tell us, hey, Damien, tell us about Jackie. What do you do? Like you talk about a lot about restorative justice. You work for a really cool place, does really cool things.
Yep.
With people coming out of prison. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you again for having me. So I do run a nonprofit in Muskegon, Michigan. We are, if you were to hold up your hand, Michigan looks like a little hand. We are like right where your pinky meets your hand, right up against Lake Michigan. So it's super cool. And what we do is all kinds of cool stuff that nobody wants to talk about, because usually we're working with people when it's the roughest time of their world. Conflict resolution in regards to family disputes, in regards to business issues, property damages, maybe neighborhood disputes and things with your kids or school issues with your children. And we started this almost 30 years ago, and we are one of multiple sites around the state of Michigan, but we cover 4 sites specifically. And we did it for almost 10 years, and we had such great success. People like not hating each other as much. And they were kind of, oh my gosh, we can talk and get along. That the court started saying, well, when crime happens, that's a form of conflict too, right? How about we do this cool thing called restorative justice and work with people that commit crimes and the people that are getting victimized by crimes, have them actually talk. So it's not just a judge or attorneys figuring out how to repair the crime. So we started that 20 years ago, Chris. First, probably 4 or 5 years, it was just like kids only. We don't want to work with those adults because they're scary. They earned their time in jail or prison or in the court system. Then it got better, and they started realizing adults get to make mistakes and repair the harm that they did as well. So we started reaching out to victims of crime that actually had an adult offender, and those started going pretty successfully too. Then the Michigan Department of Corrections started saying, hey, guess what? If we can help resolve conflicts, maybe you can prepare people that are in prison, getting close to release, actually help reduce the possible consequences of the conflict they're going to come back to once they get out of prison. So that's when I started getting involved in reentry work. That was probably 15 years ago or so. I've done off and on in terms of prison reentry, jail reentry. I've also worked at a police department. I've worked at a women's shelter. I've worked at a school doing counseling. So I've kind of got it from all areas. So when I was at counseling, I had a lot of kids that parents were in jail or prison. When I was at the women's shelter, I had a lot of people that their significant other or their past partner was in and out of jail or prison, or the women themselves were in and out of prison. So pretty much my whole career has been around some form of conflict, some kind of mediation, some form of, you know what? Life can be tough and stuff happens. And sometimes that stuff is evil, icky stuff. But let's work forward to repair the harm and really focus on accountability. So 20 years later, I'm still doing this work.
That's a long time to do it.
Yes, it is.
Not get burn out.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
you're dealing with bureaucratic things. You know, you have to go by what they say you have to do.
Yes.
And it's not always, and this is my opinion, not your opinion. I'm not trying to get you in any kind of trouble. It's not always easy to do that because it's government. So it's got its caps, it's got its rules and that are very rigid. And sometimes getting those things to change around is difficult. So the fact that you have stayed in it and fought the good fight for this long is amazing.
Yeah. And if you think 20 years worth of history, Chris, I mean, my first cases, there wasn't even social media really out there. There wasn't all the kind of damage and all the kind of harm and crimes that happen through the internet. Those weren't even a thing when I really started. So seeing just the progression and the change in the more violent crimes that are happening to younger people, the more violent crimes that are happening from kids and women, it's tough stuff, guys, and it's not going to get better unless there's more and more people willing to do this kind of work, willing to not say, oh, you committed a crime, you're a felon, or you did this, you're over there, I don't need to talk to you or work with you. Well, guess what? Some of them are in your family, and some of them live right next door to you, and some of them work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? They're still human beings, right, Chris?
They are. Yeah, we are still humans.
Thank
I
you.
are one.
Yeah. And you know, the problem is that society loves to kind of bash and blame other people because then it makes them feel better. Oh, you know what? I've had a crappy day, but at least I'm not like them. I'm not like this person. And the whole restorative concept really focuses on human being first. So I may work with 7 people one day that maybe they all broke into cars. Every 7 situations are completely different. The reason they did it, why did they target it? Was it random? Did they do it because they were bored? Were they looking for money? Was it because they were trying to find something in that vehicle? Every single situation is so different. And so to lump everybody together, give them the same kind of court consequences just because they fall into this category, not the way to fix it at all.
Yeah, exactly. Chris had a good comment. I'm going to bring it back up.
Chris, have a good comment.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine, right?
Yeah, I know, right? He said when funds are appropriated, it can be difficult to frame what they truly need when following protocol, but it can be done.
Yeah. Yeah. So the cool thing about our program, we currently, we are 100% funded from the Michigan Department of Corrections. Their purpose is we work with those that are in jail. We have the coolest program ever, Chris, because it's not like almost any other program in the entire country. We actually have approval to actually have higher level crimes. The people that commit those crimes actually be appropriate to leave the jail, walk down the street to our programming, do day programming all day, and then they go back to the jail. Usually, if programs let anybody do work release, it's a very minor, low-level crime. We get crimes of all capacities because they trust our program. They know we're there for the right reason. So we really have that cool programming that the DOC says if we can help these people that already went to jail stay out of prison, we've helped society in a certain way. So they do give us this funding. We can't pay for any food. We have to monitor every single cent. We actually are a reimbursement program. So my tiny little nonprofit has to pay for everything. And then the DOC funds us for it. So when Chris talks about funds being tough, red tape up and down, you know, there are certain things that has to be done. And then there's certain things that maybe kind of sort of can get done at the end. So we really count on volunteers. We count on donations. We count on, people wanting to give back, because this is amazing work that needs to be done for everybody. And for those of you that are writing in the chat, Chris is like, oh, just keep up with them. They're on the right-hand side. My brain doesn't work up with that. I can't read and type and talk
It's
all at the same time. So if I ignore you,
it's
I see some awesome people there. But Chris, I'm going to let you do the whole questions.
yeah, it's really popping tonight. It's really tough to keep up with, which is a good thing. Yeah, the nonprofit life is not for the weak. I agree.
No.
It's about time, Sam. Like, I was wondering why you, not that I don't like Jackie, but you're supposed to be over here on my side. That's my sister right there. I love me some Samantha Sierra.
I love seeing her being more vocal now. It's
I
such a
know,
good thing
right?
seeing her on
Sharing
video.
selfies.
Yes.
Yeah, for real. So how did you get into this? Like, do you have a background of somebody that is justice involved or been to jail or prison or addiction or whatever?
Nope. I had the most lily white background you could ever even imagine, Chris. I grew up knowing that I needed to save the world. I did have a family member that had some major addiction issues and quite a few different things that really made me want to go into the social work field and help people. But I got affected by crime once I got in high school. So I was a victim of crime, both as a family member and as a person individually. And it sucks. My first time ever being a victim of crime, I can still remember exactly what happened and how I found out what happened that day. And so when I went to college thinking I could save the world, got this great internship, and it was told, hey, do you want to work with people that commit crimes? And I'm like, I guess. It's not like I was asking to do it. It's not like I was scared
Right.
to do it. I'm just like, I thought I was going to save the world. I didn't know I was working with criminals. But it became such a great thing because it's like I kind of was able to heal myself in a way. I realized not people don't always intentionally hurt the person that they're hurting. I know that sounds weird. Okay.
Right. No, they don't.
Intentionally, sometimes it's just random, it's luck of the draw. And so many victims of crime I worked with, they have lost sleep for days and weeks and sometimes years, or they've invested so much money in security cameras, dogs, they've moved just because they felt like they were targeted and that everybody was going to hurt them. And so once that person can actually talk to the person that committed the crime against them and ask them a good question like, why did you pick me? What did I do wrong? And the
Yeah.
person literally looks at him and it's like, I just happened to turn down your road. I didn't even know you lived there. I didn't even know who you were. And that's when the healing begins. And that's when you can repair the harm and you can decide, I don't want to hurt you as a human ever again. I don't want to have more violence in my community. I don't want to have more issues. And it can become a really cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
But so many people nowadays, they build walls and fences and we don't even know
Yeah.
our neighbors' names anymore. So it's like,
Yeah.
why would you want to talk to a total stranger if you don't even know your neighbors? So there's still a lot of work to do, Chris, so much work to do.
I can see that, how getting to change someone's mindset from somebody being a mark to being a human changes the whole way they look at things, and realizing that, and making the victim of the crime to realize, as terrible as it sounds, it's not personal. You were just a mark.
Yeah.
Like you were just, I was going to break into a house and yours was right there, or whatever it is, you know?
Yeah. And, the beauty of being able to talk together about it, it's that relationship, and that's one thing I've stressed, Chris, when you and I talked, it's relationship. We are not you over there, me over there, just because we grew up in a different city or we went to different schools or we talk a different way, we look a different way, worship a different way, we have different skin colors or religious, connotations or anything going on. We are still human. And how can we work together to say, just because you did this does not mean you're going to continue doing this. And just
Right.
because you affected me and you impacted my life does not mean I have to be a victim again. And so how can we work together? And we can't do that without that relationship. So relationship building is number one. It's key. That's one of the cool things about social media. And even you doing these kind of shows, you bring real people together. And that's how change happens. It's not when we close ourselves off and say, I don't want to talk to somebody like you, or I don't like you because you worship a different way or you vote a different way. Come on, we all live and breathe the exact same way. How can we
Right.
work together to build those relationships?
Yep. I agree 100%. And a lot of the time that these people that have been locked up have never had a real relationship, a healthy relationship, whether it be a friendship or a relationship with their parents or a spouse or significant other or whatever. They don't know what a healthy relationship looks like.
You're right. Yeah. And just that term relationship, sometimes we only think the word relationship means an intimate partner, somebody we're dating, somebody we're married to, somebody we had a child with. Relationships can be your school teacher. Did the teachers treat you okay? Or were you kind of that naughty kid? What about the
Mm-hmm.
bus driver? What about the church lady if you went to church? What about your neighbor on the street corner? Did they like look at you like you were this evil person when you were riding your little bike as a kid? Or did they actually come out and
Mm-hmm.
talk to you? Did they bring you milk and cookies? What kind of relationships did you have? Because if you had a rough early on, it doesn't get easier unless somebody teaches you how to actually do some real relationship building.
Yep. Let me say something real quick. Then we'll go to Kelly's question. Like I said, it was a busy week last week, and usually I send out invites to 150 people or so to get them so they get the notification whenever I go live and they accept and all that kind of stuff. And I usually get around 20 to 25 people to show up. I didn't get to do invitations this week,
Because you were
and there's
camping.
still oh yeah, it was just getting ready to camp and all the things. It was hectic last week, and I still have 20 people here. So just a huge thank you to all of y'all that show up and support, even without a reminder. Like, you don't even know what that means to me. Like, it really does. It's very humbling, and I love it. So thank y'all so much. All right. Anyway, Kelly had a question. Jackie,
Yeah.
what makes your company special? I hear the trauma informed and healing centered approach in your program. Your energy is infectious, my friend.
Oh, I appreciate you, Kelly. So, one of the cool things that I feel that is so important is the people that work in our agency. They are not coming in just for a paycheck. They embody that whole relationship building. We are not going to be best friends with our clients. We have very strict rules through PRIA and through the jail and through the
Mm-hmm.
prison, but we are still humans together in building that relationship and not coming in and saying, I know how to fix you and I know what you need and I'm going to tell you everything you need to do this right. That doesn't work. I told Chris earlier, I said it on a post or something. There is not one expert in the reentry field. Now, I have seen some of my LinkedIn contacts kind of say only people that have justice involved background should be in reentry. And then I have other people saying, keep justice involved people out of reentry. They need to just be mentors down the road. They shouldn't be making changes. No, no, no. All of us need to
Yep.
work together
Yep.
and we need to decide right here and today there is no absolute expert in reentry because every single human has different needs. Like Kelly said, some people come to us with a ton of trauma. Like they had a ton of trauma from being little kids, teenagers into adulthood. There are other people that walk into our program. They made one decision that altered their whole life. Not one of us humans is more than one decision away from getting locked behind bars. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is not because you're
That's
intentional. It
it,
doesn't mean
man.
that you have to be this criminal mindset. So every single person comes to us a little bit different. We need to work together differently. Some people are going to walk in a room. Say, Chris and I are sitting in a room together and we're like, hey, we're your reentry team. There are going to be probably 50% of those people are going to come right to me and be like, Jackie, I want you as my person. I trust you. But that guy, I mean, look at him. He's got this beard and stuff. The other people are going to be like, I don't want to talk to a woman. She doesn't know what the heck I've been through. Chris walks the walk. I want to talk to him just because of the way we look, not because
Yep.
one word is uttered out of our mouth. And we need to respect that. And then we can move past that and build the relationships after that initial reaction is done. So back to that whole question Kelly had is we are all special. Every agency is special if they have the right heart. But unfortunately, there's so much money out there in different reentry restorative capacities. If you have the right key to write the right grants for state and federal dollars, some people just do it for the money. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to have a program that truly cares about every single person individually to work through their program because my one size fit all might not work for Chris. It might not work for Damien. It might not work for Kelly. It might not work for Chris. Any of us at all. We have to be willing to go that extra mile, learn more about that person, understand that they've got walls up and they probably are not going to trust us on day one or maybe even day 17, but that
Right.
opportunity is there.
Yep. Alina had a question, and Alina's going to be a guest on the show. Date to be
Yay.
determined. She has an amazing. I'm going to throw a teaser out there because she has an amazing story. I haven't heard any of it except what she's
Yeah.
put in one LinkedIn post, and got off. I had a 15-minute Zoom call today, and it was like the best 15 minutes of my day. She's just a delightful person. I can't wait to have her on the show. Like, I'm pumped about it. She said, "Do you know how has your nonprofit been successful in reducing recidivism?"
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you right now, I can't stand the word recidivism. I absolutely cannot stand it.
Really?
Oh my gosh, I can't stand that word. There's a lot of word. I don't even like the word reentry, Chris. And I certainly don't like that, the connotation of like recovery, relapse, and stuff like that. I can't stand people putting targeted words just to try to get money out of them. You know, every human is going to have some issues. Why can't reentry just be, hey, this is life. This is life. You know, whether you're behind bars and you've got 3 more years to do, whether you've got 2 more days to do, whether you're out on parole, whether you're on probation, whether you're not connected to papers or the court system at all, you're doing life. You know, you're doing life. And why can't we support people doing that? But yes, we do track all of our rates for recidivism. We track metrics in terms of who gets employed, who finishes their college education while they're in our program, who goes back to jail on similar charges or things like maybe a probation violation versus who does more intense charges. Unfortunately, since COVID, the jail had to shut down and they were not able to send us participants. And so we've only been back in official business about a year. We were working with participants after they were released for jail, but those statistics are a little different because they're not currently in the program. So they have more of a flexible schedule. So all those reports do get turned into the state every year. We do get audited. We get all kinds of legislative reports we have to report on. I can't quote the numbers right now because my program manager does all of that and she's on vacation in Nashville right now. So I can't even ask her by text right now. But with our juvenile program, we have been tracking data for them for probably 15, 16 years. And we do different programming for them, both the mediation one-on-one with your victim of crime. And then we also do like a surrogate program, which is like an accountability panel where we talk about how that crime affects not only the victim, but their family, the community, and maybe the school system. And those first-time offenders, when we worked with them, we do year tracking, and we had 97% success after a year of doing the programming with the youth, that not one of them had any interaction with the court system or a police department after that. So restorative stuff is good when you treat people like real people. They're able to take a break from all the stress in their brain and they get to learn a little different. And then hopefully that's when the change really happens.
Yeah.
Elena had something. Chris's question?
Yeah, I see that. I'm going to come right back to it.
Okay.
But Elena said she gets it. The only reason she loves that word is because she finally knows how to say it correctly.
I love it.
I do too. All right. So Chris said, is there a follow-up once they complete the program?
So cool thing. So for our victim offender work with the youth and the adults that are meeting directly with their victims or their offenders, we do multiple check-ins after that programming. We check in with the court system. We also check in with the victims of crime to make sure that they completed their agreement and paid off debts or whatever they needed to do. But then with our reentry program, we keep them on our kind of caseload, you could say, for 1 whole year. But then we tell them, they're never exited from exit. So our program is called the exit program. They're never exited from exit. They can call us anytime. We do community different events sometimes where they can come back at any time. We also offer things like if they lost their ID, we have copies of their IDs. We have copies of their birth certificates. We can help them with resumes if they've found a new job or they need to transfer to another job. If they just need somebody to talk to, or they're just like, man, I'm off probation, but life is getting tough for families. Again, my office is also a mediation center. So if they need to mediate with whoever they're living with, they need to mediate with their landlord. Maybe it's the person that they created a baby or two with. We can also help in that capacity. So there's a whole bunch of different ideas and stuff like that. So I can see Frank's doing a lot of talk about like mass shooters and stuff like that. We're really talking about reentry that's appropriate for meeting with a victim. So I am not going to put somebody face to face with a victim of crime if it was an intentional, very evil, very situation that has a lot of different stuff going on. We are going to be scheduling individual sessions with both the victims and the offenders before we even get a chance to put people together. Now, with that being said, I have worked a lot with people, especially youth, that have threatened to do different kind of shootings and different kinds of very large mass situations. I've also worked with people that have had manslaughter charges. I've worked with people that have had pretty intense stuff. However, they are all We go through a major screening process to make sure that they're appropriate, they're ready, they're not there to just yell at the that the victim's not going to just yell at the person, and that the person is ready to accept that, because we don't want to escalate any potential mental health issues. We don't want to escalate any kind of potential violence. Some people can't
Right.
work through their trauma in just a short amount of time. We want
Right.
to make sure that they're at a good level before we do any of that work.
For sure. Yeah. I would imagine that you would have to do, you don't just say like, oh, okay, you want to meet your victim? Okay, here, go get in a room and y'all talk.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of our people that do the actual mediations are state certified mediators. So they've went through hours and hours and hours and months and weeks and years of training. And then I do additional training before they can even work with a victim of crime or a criminal on top of the regular mediation training they do.
I think this is a LinkedIn user, and I think this was Damien that asked this. What advice would you give your clients when they get down on themselves?
So the biggest advice, if you can say that, is really the fact of, caring about yourself first is the way to make a change in everything. So you can change to possibly work things better with your family, with your school system, because I work with a lot of kids that are about to be expelled from school or long-term suspended. They start getting down on themselves, thinking that nobody wants them back at school, that they're never going to graduate, that they're not wanted. Talking about working on themselves first, giving them some hope, reminding them that they are a human. They deserve to do everything just like everybody else. But when they're in a trauma situation, when they've had family that have kind of given up on them, I've had parents that have literally said, I just want the police to come lock up my kid. That's the only way they're going to learn. And I'm like, there's other ways to learn. There's other ways to learn. But if you're a youth and you're dealing with hormones and you're dealing with social media pressures and school pressures, and then you got to learn algebra, and you have parents that are basically saying you're just kind of a loser, how are you going to rebound? Why would we expect their mental health to be in a good spot? So finding ways, and please, please, if you're somebody that has dollars, give schools more dollars for school social workers and counselors, because it is ridiculous. We're like maybe one social worker, school counselor for like 700 to 800 kids in most districts. How in the world can they really meet the needs? We have had so many kids traumatized by all the impact of being out of school, COVID, seeing their parents in and out of jail. Some of our people, when they went to jail during COVID, they could not get released because the courts were not doing trials in some capacities. Some of these kids went, instead of just a month or two without seeing their mom or dad because they went to jail, sometimes they went almost 2 years without seeing them. And you don't think that's going to have an impact or an effect? So we have to figure out, how can we get to them? Maybe it's a school counselor, maybe it's workers like me, maybe it's all of us adults saying, guess what? We want to help. We want to step up. We want to be mentors. We want to be donors. We want to show you that you deserve to be okay. And maybe that's just by saying hi, going to your sport events if your parents can't go there, cheering them on in some capacity. Yep. Boy, can I have a long answer to one question, Chris, or what?
I mean to tell you. Tricia had a question. I'm sorry if you already mentioned this. How would someone participate in your program?
Okay, so our reentry program, our specific reentry program is for felony convicted inmates. So we do offer individualized services for women, but because of the PREA Act, which is the Prison Rape Elimination Act, we can't have men and women in the same building at the same time while they're on court jurisdiction. So they have to have a felony conviction. It's not even a felony charge. They have to be convicted, and it is a court-ordered program for us. However, if you're talking victim offender mediation, the judge can order it or the victim can request that kind of service. We also have some diversion programs where either the prosecutor's office or a police department or a school can actually refer a case to us directly. So again, I've been in business, well, not me personally, but our agency's been in business for 30 years. And every single day I run into a million people that have never heard about it in my own tiny little town. So you guys have mediation centers all around the country, maybe even in other countries. There are other countries that do way more restorative work than we ever could think about doing in America. We have many peacemaking circles through Native programs and on different reservations that are so intense and powerful, but we don't talk about it. We don't think about, hey, how can I get involved? So if you wanted somebody to be a volunteer, they would have to go through mediator training, and then the agency would have to open them up to see if they would be able to be screened to work with people that have criminal backgrounds. So if this is something interesting to you, if you're ever in Michigan, I would love to have you as a volunteer. But wherever you are, there's a great opportunity for this. If you don't have these kind of programs in your community and you kind of work with the courts, or you know somebody that's in the courts, reach out to me. I can let you know. I have been in this program since we started, all the different capacities. And if there's something that I can do to really help that, I would love to help you and just kind of get some words out there. So many people think some of this work is soft on crime. So again, Chris alluded to that whole political contest. Sometimes there are people that are running for office that may not want to promote this right before an election. Other people realize, wow, this has had such a positive impact in these communities, and we've reduced jail time, we've reduced kids being kicked out of school for a long time, and it actually helps with their voting. So depending on what's going on in your community, what that political framework is, dive in and tell your elected officials this has to be a program. Our people getting out of prison and jail are coming right back to the communities that they committed their crimes in. If nothing changes, nothing changes, and that means crime will continue again and again and again.
Dealing with that political stuff can be really hard too, especially around an election year, which is coming up. I'm not going to get into all of it, but it can be tough. Elizabeth had a question real quick. She just came in. She's late to the party. What is the name of the place where you work?
So my agency specifically is called Mediation and Restorative Services. I'm in Muskegon, Michigan, but I service 4 counties in the state of Michigan, but I'm connected to all of the other centers that cover the entire state. Not all of them do restorative justice, and none of them do the reentry work like we do, but we would love to see if it could spread out. I know there's so many people across the United States that I've been working with behind the scenes and talking with that have amazing programs as well. So it's growing. There are some places that are doing it probably way better than me. So, there's a lot of networking that can be done on this, but you can do this work even without doing this work. If you're a social worker, a teacher, a doctor, if you interact with humans in any capacity, treating them respectfully is the number one step to talk about repairing harm and helping them be accountable for actions, and not just being like, oh, you need to be over there. I don't trust you. I don't like you. You look different. You act different. So we can do this work even without a program. It just is really cool when there's a program and you got the courts and the prosecutors and the judges and the police departments all understanding that this is really cool, important stuff.
Right on. Paul had a question too. He said his monthly challenge for his community is to donate time to a nonprofit. Is there anything he can do to be a service?
Yeah, you can. Let's talk offline, Paul. There are a few things that I can do. So it doesn't need to be, so as a nonprofit, we will always take monetary donations, but some people don't realize the value of giving time even out of context. I am always looking for people to help me find some really cool things to post on social media. I'm always looking at people to give me some ideas of what else is going on in the community. So people that outreach, but also people that are willing to talk about this kind of work. It's rough stuff. It's usually when people are having the roughest time of their life. They're getting a divorce. They have somebody that's in prison or jail. They have a kid that's not acting correctly. They don't want to talk about our services. So the more word gets out that this stuff is going on, there are agencies that want to help you, and there are opportunities to resolve the issue. So kids that deal with their parents fighting because they divorced or they never got married and they've lived apart, if those adults are still fighting 4, 5, 6 years after the relationship is over, how does that child know how to communicate? If they come to mediation, we can give them the tools to communicate. They don't have to ever like each other. They don't have to get together, but if they can communicate, it can be great. So Paul, things like that, like spreading the word and letting people know about agencies like us and doing some behind the scene like media work and such like that is awesome ways you could help me out.
Amen. What innovative strategies and resources can we leverage to ensure that everyone reentering society after incarceration has equitable access to education, employment, housing, healing, and social support, leading to a successful reintegration?
Kelly, if you could answer that question, you would see that we would have almost zero crime in the entire country. Okay? Because if you do not have a roof over your head, what are you going to do? If you don't feel like there's any support in your community, if you are still living in your trauma, how can you make positive decisions 24 hours a day because your brain is tired and exhausted? When we can find those kind of resources, whether they come from DOCs, whether they come from communities, whether they come from our county commissioners, whether they come from private donors, work needs to be done. It's not a handout. It's not like a freebie. Oh, this person gets a free house because they committed a crime. No, they have a safe place to heal while they're learning so they can get back into a place where they can be back on track and we don't have to worry about them committing crimes, hurting somebody, or hurting themselves. And those are basic human needs. And so that's something I strive for. I don't know, I'll get a lot of feedback of people not agreeing to that in some circles. But the fact is, the more we can help people, the more people will help themselves. It kind of sounds contradictory to some people, but it's an amazing thing. When people actually realize people care, that's when people change. Okay.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Paul, I did not know that about you. I didn't, and I don't know why I would. It's probably not something you share all the time. He said his dad passed away whenever he was
That's right.
in prison. He passed away in prison when he was 17.
Yeah.
So shoot me a DM. I'd love to get on a Zoom with you and chat for a few minutes and see if you'd be a good fit for the show, if you'd be willing to even share some of your story. I really like talking to people who have had family members that have been locked up, and I haven't run into too many of them. There's only been, not everybody wants to share that.
Yes.
Tanya Bugby, that was here earlier, she was the first one I ever interviewed that had a family member in prison. Her dad was, and I've interviewed one or two more since then. It's always just such a different kind of story to hear it from the kid's point of view.
It is. And I'm glad you said that. So a couple more things on ways you can help Paul or anybody that's listening. We can do a lot of virtual programming. So even if you live in another state and you do have a story to share, you can actually virtually come and speak with some of our participants. We have a very structured day where they have, in our reentry program, we have so much time with a community college that comes in. We have trauma training, we have anger management, we have education services, GED training, we have literacy, but then we have blocks of times where one time I had a great person that came in and taught the guys how to juggle, like real juggle balls, because aren't we juggling every single day in life? So there's a lot of opportunities for that. There's also some opportunity for people to mentor, even virtually, to do some mentoring. And then what Chris was just saying about not just sharing your story, but some of the other work in terms of, really trying to expand it and to realize that this is not only important stuff for people to realize, but it's okay to share it. Don't be shamed that your parents have had drug issues, that they have had in and out of prison system. It's not a shameful thing. It's called life. And it is called life. And one thing that we have in our town is we have a lot of intergenerational crime. So a lot of families where a grandparent was incarcerated, their children were incarcerated, their grandchildren were incarcerated, and now their great grandkids are incarcerated. We need to break that cycle. And I do have a great group of people that are working on a film. It's a documentary that's actually called Road to Life. And it's actually about breaking intergenerational incarceration. It's a tough mouthful, but it's pretty cool stuff. And if you ever listen to their trailer, you might recognize somebody's voice that was doing the intro on that. So there's ways you can donate to them and kind of promote their work while they're trying to get this up and running, because we want to break that cycle. And Paul, the fact that you are as successful as you are is huge. So many people that have a parent that's been in jail or prison, they don't always get an opportunity to see that there's more out there than just the work that their families did in the kind of environment that they did. So it's really cool if we can share more stories so it becomes more normalized. And so people that do have that going on, they don't feel like they have to be shamed or hide from that.
Trisha, it's not letting me search you. I can't look to see if we're connected. I don't know if we are. If we are, and I don't remember, I'm sorry. Connect with me if you want to talk. It's so cool. So many people I'm learning about. I'd love to have you on the show, or at least have a chat with you about what you're talking about. You can't read the whole comment, and it's not showing up, but you can read it over there on the right. I'd love to have a chat with you about your story, if you'd be willing to share it. If not, that's okay too. So yeah, shoot me a connection request, because I will forget.
And I am loving, Chris, the lengthy comments that are coming in. People are really passionate about this. And I promise sometime after the show, whether it's tonight or tomorrow, I will go through anybody that's directly reached out to me. I'll make sure to respond in some capacity, either on the event page or as a DM. If we are not connected, please connect with me. I don't have a lot of time to check my DMs because I do work a full-time job. And then because this work is so tough, I do have a passion project that I spend a lot of time at night doing. And then I also love the LinkedIn audio event. So I'll be doing one on the 18th with Damien about the power of words. I do a Wishful Wednesday, and I also do one on travel just because it's my passion project and it's fun stuff. So if I don't respond to you right away, please be patient. I'll catch up, especially if it's talking about really working inside your community or getting some of this going. I can't wait to connect with so many of you guys.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry if I did not see your message or glazed over it. I just sent you a connection request. If you'll accept it and send me another one, I'd be more than happy to talk to you.
Good. I love these connections being made. You're meeting
I know it.
I'm meeting people. This is amazing. This is relationship building, guys.
I need to also, I'm opening up all these tabs here of people I need to look up after the show. All right, hang on. I'm just doing this so I don't forget. Because I'm going to forget if I don't.
Aw, Shannon, thank you for saying that about Damien and I in our audio rooms. Hope you can join on the 18th. I'm just doing a little plug while he's looking at a screen, figuring out people. I love this. Okay,
I am connected to Damien. I thought I was.
Yeah. Who's not connected to Damien on here? Come on. He is the whole reason I talk this much. He got me into audio rooms and then realized just how powerful our voices are together being on. Again, just like you and I, Chris, we're in totally different states doing this. It's not like we just hang out and just decided, hey, we're going to talk. Damien's way over on the East Coast. And it's like we have so much of a connection. And this is how we make change throughout our community, our country. And those that are in other countries, you can make change with us or help us out. And we can help you out too. Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
So beautiful. Does anybody have, we are almost at time. So if you have any last minute questions, squeeze them in real quick. Next week I'm taking a break from Ending the Stigma just because I'm going to have James Lorraine on. And if you don't know James Lorraine, he's been really busy lately and he hadn't been posting much, but he posts some really he's a copywriter. So the stuff he writes is just hilarious. But he recently wrote a children's book. It was released like back in March, and I was booked up and was fixing to start Ending the Stigma again. So I'm going to take a break from this. I'm going to do one episode of So I Did a Thing just so James and I can hang out, and then I'll be back with the Withers family in 2 weeks.
And I just want to give you a shout out. Chris, I want to give you a shout out real first. I mean, think about how many people you have been connecting with on this program. I mean, the term Ending the Stigma is so powerful because it is something that so many people feel shame on, and we can't grow if we have shame. So thank you for even having the title Ending the Stigma. I appreciate that. Frank, I'll talk to you offline about those. Okay. Thank you.
Shannon, I didn't get to say hi to you earlier. It was great to see you tonight. I haven't seen you in a while. Cool. All right. Jackie, thank you so much. So much for coming on. This has been absolutely amazing. I told you she was passionate and full of energy. Yeah, it would go fast. So in 2 weeks, or I got James Lorraine next week. In 2 weeks, I have the Withers family. Going to be a family. They have so I'm going to give a teaser on this real quick too, and then we'll go. So Lisa and her husband, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm sorry if you're watching. Have some kids. They're pastors. Their kids went a little left, started doing drugs, got on in that whole lifestyle, kind of like I did. I grew up in a really strong Christian home. I got older, I went left, and I came back. Same thing happened with their kids, and now they're starting it's not really a rehab center, but it's kind of like that. I'm gonna let them tell it because I'm gonna mess it up. But it's just to be able to have the whole family on and hear a little bit of each of the kids' story and hear what spawned. And I love it because, in the Bible, there's a ton of verses that say, and Jesus saw them and he was moved with compassion. They lived through something, through their kids being addicted. They were moved with compassion and they lived it. And now they have this passion in their heart to help people that are in addiction. So it's an amazing story. They're amazing people. And I cannot wait to have them on in 2 weeks. Yeah. All right, y'all. Jackie, any closing words before we get out of here?
Again, I want to thank you for taking this time. Thank everybody for so many amazing comments. And you know, you can do a lot as a human being. You can do so much to make their place. So please take care of yourself. You are important as well, no matter if you have different kind of degrees or you have backgrounds or lived experience or not. You are so important. You don't need to have any stigma, no matter where you were growing up or what kind of world you had. Please reach out, realize there's hope, realize you have an amazing opportunity ahead of you. And if life kind of sucks right now, no matter what capacity you're in, it's going to get better. And so please talk to the right people and follow people like Chris. I mean, you can hear about some of the awesome people he's going to be having on the show. That might give you the hope or the connections that you need to make things just a little easier. So again, thank you all. I'm going to take some time to check up on the comments and everything. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to me talk so fast. I get so excited about this stuff. It sucks that it's exciting stuff, but there's so much possibility. There's so much stuff to get better and better on if we work together. So thank you again a million times, Chris, for having me tonight.
Amen. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to throw another teaser out there, y'all. I told Jackie who it was backstage. I'm not going to tell y'all who it is. I have somebody really big. It's probably going to be my biggest guest ever, but he's such a cool dude.
After me, right?
After Jackie, of course. When I tell y'all who it is, you're going to freak. And a huge shout out to Chris Smith for it. And I'm going to tease the hell out of y'all every episode between now and then. So anyway, Tim, yes, thank you, Lisa. Tim. All right, I got to go or I'll keep talking. Y'all have a great night. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you again for all the support and all the love y'all show. I appreciate it.